Dear folks, my name is Sehaj Virk. I'm currently leading the strategy and GTM efforts for Sarvam AI. For those of you who don't know, Sarvam AI is a foundational AI company focused on building sovereign models across the stack, right? That's across use cases. Our existing models already include speech to text, text to speech, LLM reasoning, and text translation models, right? Those are models that we have already built out. They're up on our API platform and people can come use them for a variety of different use cases, right? Our entire ideology is to sort of work and empower developers across the country to build applications at scale that focus on the nuances of Indian language, right? That is the mission that we have set out with as Sarvam. That is what I'm going to walk you through today. Primarily three key points, right? Number one, why is voice AI going to blow up, right? What are the big drivers for it? Number two, what are the challenges that we need to solve for before it reaches scale? Number three, how Sarvam AI is helping us get there, right? So those are the three main points I'm going to be talking about today. Without wasting too much time, I'll just dive straight into it, right? So I think a lot of folks here today have already spoken about similar topics, right? I think you had RevRag come and talk about voice agents in the BFSI space. You had SpeakX come and talk about, building English learning applications at scale, right? And deploying them across the country, right? I think through all of these use cases, we see that the intent is there, right? Even if you look at just simple statistics, right? If you just look at things like smartphone adoption throughout the country, it's been going up at an insane rate. Right? If you look at how well UPI has penetrated the country, it's going up at an insane rate, right? The transactions that people are doing at a monthly level is extremely high, right? That is what the digital adoption in India is looking like and the trajectory it is following, right? Now, if you look at use cases, let's take BFSI, right? With agents, voice agents calls, right? There is very clear intent with some of the biggest players in the market today to automate a lot of these calls, right? Imagine if, you have 100 agents today doing 500 calls per day, right? What if you could automate the most basic calls and, let the humans come in only where there is a slightly more complex use case required, right? That is what these voice AI applications can enable. The 100 agents who are doing 500 calls a day could potentially go up to 10,000 calls a day with a lot of those automated, right? So that is the kind of use cases that you can unlock. That's the kind of scale you can unlock, right? In something like a BFSI space. Similarly, you look at something like healthcare, right? You have doctors doing hundreds of consultations in a day, right? Again, limited by time, right? India is a country that needs much more stronger healthcare, right? I think there are folks doing an amazing job at it today, but there's scope for improvement, right? Every doctor consultation today will take 15 to 20 minutes at least, right? During which the doctor will write down notes, he will update the medical file, he will give a prescription, right? Imagine if you have an application or a device that just captures the conversation, whatever language it may be, right? It could be Bengali, it could be Tamil, it could be Kannada, it could be any local hospital, any local clinic, right? Imagine if you can transcribe that instantly. Imagine if the doctor gets automatic notes from it, right? I think there are a number of people out there today, right, including AIG hospitals and a number of other folks who are building these applications today and trying them at scale, right? So the intent is there, right? Now imagine every doctor saves 10 minutes, right, from each consultation. That could lead to more patients catered to in every day, right? So the use cases are limitless, right? Even with something like English learning, right? What SpeakX is doing today, right? Letting people who are not confident about speaking English, right, just interact with the app and get better at it one step every day, right? Again, that will empower people to, feel more confident, maybe apply for jobs, right? And ultimately help us move forward, right? So these applications are there across edtech, healthcare, legal, BFSI, whatever you name it, right? It's there. The intent is there from the people to build it, and the tech is progressing very well towards it, right? What are the missing pieces and how are we solving it? I will quickly jump to the next slide. Now, a lot of the conversations today, right, if you look at BFSI, you look at customer support, right, you look at any call that you get, even for scheduling medical appointments, right, let's say you book a blood test, right, for someone to come home. All of those calls happen over an 8 kilohertz telephony audio, right? That's the telephony that all of our phones use today, right? It's what telephony providers in India offer, right? Now, that is not a very high quality of audio, right? So number one, your speech, whatever language it may be, is going to be a little bit lower in terms of quality, right? This particularly is not a challenge a lot of foreign state-of-the-art models face, right? Their telephony audios tend to be slightly better, clearer, crisper, right? And because of that, ASR transcriptions are easier. With India, that is one additional layer of complexity that comes in. Similarly, India, I think I don't need to talk about this, right? India is a very culturally diverse country, right? You have 22 different national languages from, every 100 kilometers, a dialect changes, right? The way someone pronounces a word is different, right? Every 100 kilometers you go, and you go look at someone from the north versus the south, it's totally different, even how you speak Hindi, right? There will be nuances in terms of how you pronounce names, proper nouns, addresses, that will change, right? Again, for a language like English, right, where most state-of-the-art models today perform, this challenge doesn't come up, right? But when you look to scale these applications in India, it is going right? And I think a lot of folks here who are building in this space may probably already agree with me on that point, right? Similarly, code mixing and regional accents, right? The way I speak, right? I would go and tell a customer that, hey, look, my product is priced at 1,500, right? I would probably even say it as, mera product 1,500 ka hai, right? Depending on who I'm speaking to, right? Now, in that sentence, I said product in English. I said 1,500 in English, while still speaking most of the sentence in Hindi, right? That mix can happen for any language, right? I think people have, in India, progressed towards, using this colloquial terminology where you'll mix some common English word with, let's say, even Marathi or Tamil or whichever language you are speaking, right? And again, most models out there do not face such challenges, right, of colloquial expressions. Any state-of-the-art model built in the US or in UK will not face that problem, right? That's a problem that is unique to India, given how culturally diverse we are, right? And given the diversity of languages that is present today, right? So again, all of these challenges point us to that one fact, right? That you need models that can capture this, right? Not just speech-to-text models, you need text-to-speech capabilities to be able to generate voice in that fashion, right? Because that is when someone will, get an experience that he likes, right? If a automated agent calls me today, right, to talk about my loan, for example, and I think that, hey, this guy is speaking pure English or pure Hindi, and it's a robotic voice, I don't care, right? I'm going to cut the phone immediately, right? I'm sure most of you would agree with me on that. But imagine a situation where this voice, right, is natural, right? It's friendly, it speaks in a way that you generally speak, right? It mixes Hindi and English, it mixes Marathi and English, right? And it talks to you the way your daily life works, right? That is where you need an Indian model, right? That is where you need a model that understands these nuances, these kinds of accents, dialects, right? This way of speaking. And that is essentially where Sarvam tries to work, right? Our entire idea has been focused on building Indian models from scratch for data that is optimized on Indian use cases, right? So all of our data tends to be synthetically generated. We work very closely in collaboration with folks like AI for Bharat from IIT Madras to build on these research methodologies and build upon these models. Again, with the kind of data that we curate, we make sure that it is representative of all 22 Indian languages, right? The models we have out there today cater to 11 already. Very soon we are heading towards 22, right? When I say catering to these languages, what do I mean? It means understanding every dialect that there is, right? It means understanding accents, right? If someone speaks in a very heavy voice, whereas someone speaks in a very high-pitched voice, you need to be able to cater to all of those scenarios, right? The telephony point I mentioned before, right? Audios in India, again, because of telephony and probably not as clear as, say, in somewhere like a US, but at the same time, right? Most use cases, let's take urban company. Right? Urban company has a use case where they onboard delivery riders, right? The folks that, let's say come to your houses to fix refrigerators or to even do cleaning, right? You need to onboard these people. You need to get them to join, right? Urban company today has automated all of those calls via a voice agent that Sarvam has built out, right? Now, as part of this, these folks, right, are going to answer calls in a very noisy environment, right? You will get people answering it in a market, you'll get people answering it on a street, and India tends to have a lot of noise in the background, right? You'll have cars honking, you will have festivities playing, you'll have music playing, you'll have people talking in the background, right? There's a lot of noise that comes in, which tends to be a little higher, right? Again, than the kind of data that you would see abroad, right? So our models have naturally, been baked, have this kind of behavior baked into them, right, for when they transcribe or when they speak, right, in terms of how they speak. Understanding dialects, lower quality telephony audio, background noise, all of that doable, right, with Sarvam speech-to-text or text-to-speech models, right? Similarly, code-mixed conversations. You want the model to understand mix of Hindi and English if you speak that way. You need the model to be able to generate audio in that way, right, or generate text translations in that way. All of those nuances Sarvam does extremely well today, right? Again, here use cases are very subjective, right? What is colloquial for me need not be colloquial for someone else, right? Someone like a Gen Z tends to use more and more English words compared to, let's say, someone a little higher in age, right, who may not use the same slang terms, right? Again, our models, right, text translation models, have capabilities to tune those, right? So you can select the degree to which you want this colloquialism to come into play, and that would be applicable to your results, right? One of the other major points, again, with all of the state-of-the-art models out there today, it is very difficult to protect your data, right? In the age that we are living in, right, when you talk about use cases for the government or you talk about use cases for healthcare, right, very, very sensitive information. Again, with BFSI also, right, building voice agents there, very, very sensitive information that is very personal to people. You need to be able to make sure that you are securing your data, right? And there is no even possibility, right, of things going out of hand, right? With most state-of-the-art models today, it is difficult for Indian builders to do that, right? It is always challenging. There will be a large amount of negotiation paperwork, and for a large number of builders in India, that's not even possible, right, at times. With Sarvam, again, since the models are built from scratch by us, they are all hosted in India. I think the advantages that Sarvam offers in terms of data privacy to all developers out there in the country is immense, right? And for applications in something like a BFSI medical, these are critical, right? With these models, we can solve those challenges, we can get the right stakeholders on board, and you can move forward, right, with development to a POC or even moving to production, right? So the data security, compliance, scalability, all of that is in our control, given the fact that we are building it ourselves and can be scaled as per the use case demands, right? How does Sarvam currently operate on all of the points I just mentioned? We have each of the models we have built out today as individual APIs via the Sarvam dashboard, right? Primarily, we have two major versions of speech-to-text models, that is Saras and Sarika. I'll just get back to why there are two. There's a text-to-speech model called Bulbul, and there is an LLM reasoning model called Sarvam M, right? As part of our efforts to enable developers to build applications, we also are working towards open sourcing a number of models. Sarvam M, which is our 24 billion parameter LLM reasoning model, is in fact open sourced, right? We also provided free of cost via our API dashboard. So anyone who wants to try it out, build something cool over it, should be able to come and do so free of cost, right? With speech to text and Bulbul also, we are working towards open sourcing certain versions as part of the India AI mission. But the models today are also, priced in a way that it can be favorable for all developers to come and use it, right? Furthermore, with startups, we are always open, right? If there are certain aspects of a POC that we need to try out, right? If there is certain feedback that needs to be tuned for a particular use case. Again, given the fact that the models are trained by us, hosted by us, hosted in India, there are a lot of factors that allow us to be flexible, right, for these use cases. And these APIs are what are critical for every developer to build further, right? Naturally, Sarvam cannot get the right feedback, cannot scale without all of your help. I think you guys are the ones that are going to be using these APIs and helping us get to that stage where we have these models perfect for every use case within India, right? That is what we want to reach. We want to empower the developers to build for India, and these are the models that help us get there, right? Why are there two STT models? Very quickly. So, like your regular STT, right? You speak in any one of 11 languages, right? That includes Malayalam, Tamil, Telugu, any language within those 11. You get a transcription in that script, right? So, for example, if you speak in Hindi, you get a transcription in Devanagari script, right? That's the regular ASR that everyone here knows about, right? Saras, right? The second model that we have is one step further, right? There's an STT translate model, right? So it will understand what you have said in any one of those 11 languages, and it will translate that while retaining the intent, right, of what is being said in English, right? So regardless of the language is output in English, the idea being, right, that these models, right, the state-of-the-art models out there today work very well for English data, right? So if you're building a voice agent, right, you probably want to pass in the inputs to the voice agent in English, right? So that the model reasons over it in a better fashion and can give you a more accurate output, right? So to power those sorts of voice bot use cases or even call analytics use cases, right, where you want to get feedback on, let's say, how customer support is doing, right, or you want to understand what are key pain points customers are raising across audios in any one of those 11 languages, that is where Saras has a significant delta, right? Again, it does speech-to-text plus translation at no additional cost or latency, right? Exactly the same as the regular HTT model, right? So while I've spoken a little bit about the individual APIs, I also spoke a lot about the voice agents, right? I would want to show you one demo of what an orchestrated voice agent looks like, right? I'll just walk you through this one demo, and then we'll just talk a little bit about these details and close this particular topic. So let me just play out this video.
नमस्ते स्वयं जी, मैं सर्वम कैपिटल से नेहा हूँ। आपके लिए एक एक्सक्लूसिव लोन ऑफर के बारे में बात करनी थी। क्या आपके पास कुछ मिनट है?
हाँ, मेरे पास सारे टाइम।
बहुत बढ़िया। सर्वम कैपिटल की एग्जिस्टिंग कस्टमर होने के नाते मुझे आपको ये बताते हुए बहुत खुशी हो रही है कि आपके पास प्री अप्रूव्ड लोन ऑफर है। हम आपको 3 लाख से 20 लाख तक के प्री अप्रूव्ड लोन बेस्ट इंटरेस्ट रेट पर ऑफर कर सकते हैं। क्या आप इसके बारे में और जानना चाहेंगे?
हाँ ठीक है, बताओ।
आपके लोन के लिए बेस्ट इंटरेस्ट रेट देने के लिए मुझे आपसे कुछ और इन्फॉर्मेशन चाहिए होगी। इसमें 2 से 5 मिनट लगेंगे और आपके लिए बेस्ट लोन ऑफर कैलकुलेट कर पाएंगे। क्या आप सैलरीड हैं या सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड?
मैं सैलरीड हूँ मैडम।
क्या आप बता सकते हैं कि आपका जॉब परमानेंट है या कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल?
परमानेंट जॉब है।
आप किस इंडस्ट्री में काम करते हैं?
IT इंडस्ट्री में हूँ।
आपका टोटल वर्क एक्सपीरियंस कितने ईयर्स का है?
टोटल 5 साल का है वर्क एक्सपीरियंस।
आपकी कंपनी और आपकी पर्सनल नीड्स से रिलेटेड कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन के लिए मैंने व्हाट्सएप पर एक छोटा सा फॉर्म भेजा है। क्या आपको फॉर्म मिल गया?
हाँ, मिल गया है फॉर्म।
आप फॉर्म फिल कर दीजिए। जब आप इसे फिल कर लें तो मुझे बता दीजिएगा।
हाँ, भर रहा हूँ मैं।
मैं कुछ और सेकंड वेट करूंगी। फॉर्म फिल करने के बाद मुझे बता दीजिएगा।
हाँ, भर दिया मैंने फॉर्म।
मुझे 2 मिनट दीजिए, मैं चेक करती हूँ। वाह, इन्फॉर्मेशन सबमिट करने के लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। आपसे बस कुछ डिटेल्स कंफर्म करनी है। क्या आपके फादर का नाम राहुल शर्मा है और ऑफिस ईमेल prince@sarvam.ai है और मंथली सैलरी 50,000 है और 2 डिपेंडेंट्स हैं और मदर का नाम प्रिया शर्मा है और मैरिटल स्टेटस सिंगल है?
हाँ, सही है ये।
आपका एड्रेस लेने के लिए हमने एक और मैसेज भेजा है। अपने एड्रेस डिटेल्स भर दीजिए।
हाँ, भर रहा हूँ।
मैं कुछ और सेकंड वेट करूंगी। एड्रेस फॉर्म फिल करने के बाद मुझे बता दीजिएगा। क्या आपने एड्रेस फॉर्म फिल किया है?
हाँ, मैंने भर दिया एड्रेस।
वाह, एड्रेस सबमिट करने के लिए बहुत शुक्रिया। आपका पिन कोड 400076 है। कंफर्म करना चाहती हूँ।
हाँ, सही है पिन कोड।
इतना सब इन्फॉर्मेशन देने के लिए शुक्रिया। आपके दिए गए इन्फॉर्मेशन के हिसाब से आपको 10 लाख रुपीस तक का लोन 10.5 इंटरेस्ट रेट पर मिल सकता है। आपको कितना लोन चाहिए?
लोन तो एक्चुअली 12 लाख का चाहिए मुझे।
आपकी डिटेल्स रिकॉर्ड कर लिए गए हैं। हमारे एग्जीक्यूटिव आपसे लोन प्रोसेस कंप्लीट करने के लिए जल्द ही कनेक्ट करेंगे। शुक्रिया, आपका दिन शुभ हो।
Right. So that is one example of how you can use an orchestration of speech to text, LLM reasoning, and text to speech to generate a voice agent. Again, with the right integrations, you can also have it do a task such as form filling, right? Imagine policy research surveys. Imagine booking an appointment for something like a blood test, right? Imagine filling out a loan application on call while the agent guides you, right? Again, you would have also noticed during that demo that the agent was able to speak colloquially, right? Was able to mix in Hindi and English, right, in a way that someone would traditionally do, right? A normal human agent would do, right? So that is the kind of power that these models have, right? And naturally, the experience is also something that we'll continue to build and improve upon, right? One orchestration of all of these APIs is also available at Sarvam via what we call the Sarvam Samvad platform, right? So it works as a no-code voice agents platform where you just come and type out in simple English, right, what you want this kind of a voice bot to do, right? The platform would do all of the integrations or all of the orchestration for each of the APIs, even aspects like interruptions, turn detection, language detection, switching languages mid-call, handling multiple languages in one sentence, all of those nuances, it does itself, right? If someone wants to build on top, you can also use the APIs I spoke about earlier, but this platform makes it a little bit more seamless for someone who doesn't want to get into the technical nuances, right? So I think that broadly covers what I have here to show. I think we're also almost out of time. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here today. If would be happy to chat with any of you who want to learn more. And
what could be the estimate cost from end to end, from starting Sarvam to continuation to the voice call agent using Exotel or something? So what could see from morning, most of the people spoke about the AI voice agent, but no one covered how much cost it involves to the merchant. So that we can be able to plan accordingly.
Absolutely. I think that is a very, very important question. And thank you for raising that up also. I think with a lot of use cases today, right, where developers want to build, cost is the most critical factor, right? I think India is a very, very cost sensitive market. To answer your question, your STT models, right, are going to be usually cheaper, right? Even LLM reasoning models, the cost would depend heavily on the size of the model you use, right? For example, Sarvam M is a 24 billion parameter model, right? That might incur a slightly higher cost compared to a smaller model. With something like voice agents, right? Especially if you're building specifically for, let's say, BFSI or healthcare, if you know the domain, right? Perhaps a smaller model, right, that understands the use case a little better, right, that is prompted specifically for that context, can do a little bit better, right? And that will optimize for your cost, right? STT will always tend to be cheaper. With LLM, you can optimize. The TTS will be the heaviest component as of today. I think one of the key focuses for Sarvam as of today is also to optimize the way we inference and host these models, right? Let's say if you're hosting a TTS or an LLM model on an H100 GPU, you want to make sure that it is optimized to extract the complete capacity from that GPU, right? To put a number to it, as of today, even if you use our APIs, you could probably get it done in about somewhere between 1.5 to 2.5 rupees per minute, right? If depending, of course, on which LLMs you use and how you orchestrate the solution, I think with time, that cost will only keep going down.
On the AI agents, right, the voice agents, now, do you guys provide numbers also, or you guys only train on the agents and give it to us? And we connect it with Levo, Twilio, or all of that. The number procurement and the voice agent is combined together and you give it as a package, or you give it as a separate one?
No. So we provide only the ability to build the voice agent and prompt it towards a certain direction. We do make the process as simple as integrating with an API, right? When it comes to integrating with any telephony provider out there. But we would always encourage folks who are building with us to bring their own telephony providers, right? If required, we have done it in the past where we help with that process also, but generally it is advisable for folks to bring their own telephony for reasons such as, what it shows up on Truecaller as and optimizing on a few factors as what the final experience would be like.
Cool. Thanks, sir. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Lovely being here. Thank you so much.